Welcome, everyone, to What the Force, and welcome to our Bad Batch Report. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me, as always, is Kyle Gould.
Howdy!
All right. You used to do, imitations.
Oh, that's right.
When we did the Clone Wars report. Yeah.
Those were so good. Long time gone. Yeah. No, I don't have any. Other than Jeb from Different Tales, the rookies right now.
Yeah. Who's like a mock of that character from Teen Titans.
Titans Go.
Yeah. This episode is episode 4, Cornered.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild that we're already this far in.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been a month already.
Well, it's been 3 weeks because 2 episodes in the first week. And
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Still, it's been flying along, especially that 72-minute long triple episode to begin with.
How time works. Yeah. I know, and it's been particularly busy in your personal life, like and work and everything like that. So I totally understand. You're like, what is time?
Yes, this has been a busy time to be doing this, but I'm really looking forward to finding eking out the minutes of the day to do Loki with you in 2 weeks' time.
And yeah, very, very soon. We're trying to figure out when we're going to do it, and it'll be fun. I think it'll be amazing. So yes. It's all good. We are here, obviously, to talk about the Bad Batch. And one thing that I wanted to talk about right off the bat before we get into how we felt about the episodes overall was I really love the music so much. It just feels like Kevin Kainai is like knocking it out of the park with
hitting his stride.
Absolutely. And it does feel like a flex from what he traditionally did in the Clone Wars.
Yep.
You know, and I'm really excited to listen to the soundtracks when we're able to get those.
I have to give props in the same vein then to the soundscape because it is rich.
That's David W. Collins.
Wow, so rich. There's so much going on in any given moment, and each place has its own different feel and vibe, and it's not the same sounds.
Star Warsy though, like when the speeder goes that and does that, and then
especially this episode was so much background noise. It was delightful. Like just.
It felt very Star Wars lush, right? Yeah. And that's David W. Collins, who, of course, is very well known for, his musical analysis, but also has worked on Star Wars video games from a musical perspective and has been, for the last couple of years, starting to work more and more on the sound design and editing of
Foley
the
work,
animations.
All of this stuff was just, I mean, he's probably not the Foley artists, but I have to give credit where credit's due. This was a good audio episode.
Very good, yeah.
Like you might not even need to watch it to understand what was going on. And that's intense considering there was a lot of visual spectacle.
Yeah. It's very classic Star Wars to have rich soundscapes that blend perfectly with the music and the heights. And I love the Bad Batch theme. We only get like snippets of it throughout the episodes, but I love it so much. It feels very good. And then I did want to shout out to the source music that we hear briefly with the Aqualish. It's like during the chase scene, and you focus on the guy that looks like Ponda Baba from the first.
Yep.
Like from A New Hope.
Maybe it is in fact him.
Could be.
I mean, they brought Greedo into Clone Wars, right?
A younger Ponda Baba. And he's just like jiving to some electric music, like, and I was just like, yeah, I love source music. Thank you for giving us a tiny snippet of source music.
So is your shout out now going to be a howdy? No,
no, but yeah, A+. And then in general, like as we kind of move out from all the visceral pieces, this episode was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like Pantura.
The only thing I didn't get was like they went from the sewers to like not the sewers. That was really weird.
People were commenting on how short this episode was, and I actually wonder if they cut something.
It didn't feel like it. I mean, literally, didn't feel like it, but it wasn't that short.
They said it was just a shorter episode compared to and that the episodes have gotten shorter.
Well, I can tell you that it is a normal length of an episode, and it is 18 full scenes.
Yeah.
And it did not feel, going from scene to scene to scene, that there were any skips in time. The only thing that felt weirdly ascribed was how easy it is to knock out our Bad Batch.
Yeah, they get knocked out very easily, but maybe
not one, but two.
But maybe that's like Fennec's specialty. She's like, I know the off switch on all clones.
Maybe.
And that kind of makes me kind of excited for the Book of Boba Fett, because maybe she knows Boba's off switch.
Already developing clone dynamics.
Yeah.
With Boba's predecessors.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is intense.
I love it.
I wrote a couple questions while I was watching, and my first question was Ida Floor? More like Ida No.
What?
The first planet they want to go to is Ida Floor.
Ida Floor.
And then they're like, well, we can't go there. And literally that's the first time anyone has ever said that planet's name ever in the history of Star Wars.
It's cool. I
really hope they go there now.
I hope they go there. It's uninhabited, so.
And so instead they go to Pantora.
Yeah, which we have seen in the Clone Wars.
It's a significantly statistically important place.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened there, and
because of its relationship politically with the Separatists, where the Trade Federation had created a blockade with them to pay past debts.
Yeah,
and Pantora was basically being pushed by the Separatists to join them through the Trade Federation's push. They stayed, and then it was revealed that the moon, because they're a moon, right? Pantora is actually the moon of, I didn't write it down, like Ursa something or other.
Yeah.
And that moon holds control over the frigid wasteland of the planet below, which turned out to have a sentient species much like the Gungans that nobody else knew about, and they made themselves known, and then they exerted their own free will for sovereignty, and it was like this huge
it was a Clone Wars fight. They had a whole arc where like Anakin and Obi-Wan were like trying to communicate with this native species of this moon, and the Pantorans were like, no, we're in control of this, and the Prime Minister was a total jerk, and the ambassador that was the senator for Pantora was like, no, we have to be right to the people here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the senator's family gets kidnapped by Dooku.
Yep.
And Ahsoka has to go and save them. And that senator then ends up on the jury for Ahsoka's trial.
I did not realize that she was there.
Yeah, that's crazy. How dense this, like, they're pulling Pantora into this, and Pantorans are all the blue folk with the yellow eyes, not the Chiss, which are blue folk with red eyes.
Yeah.
Literally the same appearance.
And they tend to have like white markings on their skin and like wear very tall hats. And I like the design of Pantora, that it kind of felt like a little bit Russian in a way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I can see that.
You know, because of the spires, but then I also felt like Lothal mixed with classic spaceport. But then there was these cool like red leaves or red plants that were kind of all over the place, and it gave a very cool feel to the space.
Yeah. So this episode could have happened immediately prior to, like, this episode and the last episode could be swapped back and forth.
Absolutely. Yeah. With the exception of the one reference to them needing chain codes like on the previous planet.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. But even if you still apply that thinking, it could have just been a teaser of what was to come. You didn't have to watch these in any order.
I can definitely see how you wouldn't need to necessarily watch them in any order.
Yeah. So this episode was called Cornered. There's only one movie in history that's actually called Cornered, and it came out in 1945, and it's not a very highly rated movie. And I was really surprised that that's the case. Like, it's such a good name, such a good word. I would have thought there'd be a couple of movies with Cornered in it, but there's not. And it made me wonder even more, like, why is this called Cornered?
Yeah, that made me wonder too, because I'm like, never is Omega really cornered except for when she's dangling off of the like spire.
Yeah, and then that's more cliffhangered.
Yeah, exactly.
They did not feel cornered at all in this episode. It seemed like a strange titling And it made me wonder, like, is there some other reference or something pointing to that? But there's nothing in there.
Or is there something like meta story wise that they're saying about Omega being the one that Fennec is going after?
Yeah, which leads the next note I wrote, which was Ming Na Wen ?
Yeah, it's absolutely her. Yeah.
But I felt good because I'm not the voice
you're not the
person.
voice. Yeah.
And you get the image of the person, you don't know who they might be.
Yeah.
It's just a voice. And I was like, Ming Na Wen is in this episode? Oh, goody.
I mean, from the trailers, we knew she was going to be back.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, we just got a like a splash shot of her in the trailers, and I was like, Fennec Shand!
She seems a lot like the Cad Bane of this season.
Yeah, and I would be cool with that. Like, I would be cool with her always kind of going after things. And it was really interesting, the role she played. And I want to dig into that a little bit more when we talk about what did this all mean a little bit more. Just because, like, mythically, there was a lot going on in this episode. And so it felt very psychologically dense, even though there was a lot of like, hey, run here, do this, do that.
Everyone had a purpose except really Wrecker, which was good because Wrecker's had a lot of purpose going forward. So he didn't have to do much this episode. And that made me happy because it was nice to see more being developed for other characters.
Especially Echo.
Yes, because that was my next question. Literally, you see him step off the ship and he's got the helmet down. I'm like, is Echo dressed like a droid?
I love this so much because back to like when we originally talked, I'm like, Echo's kind of the droid of the crew, even though we have the Gonk droid, right? Gonky.
Exactly.
You have to say it, Gonky.
Freaking Gonky.
But he is kind of the droid, and he is playing this like very man-machine interface.
Yep.
Right? That's literally how he plays out in this episode. And it's fun and it's wonderful. And I love interactions with droids. And I loved exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Like the conflict with the protocol droid who's like, I'm in charge. And he's like, well, now I've been put in charge and your restraining bolts tell you that you have to listen to me. And she's like, gah.
He didn't even say that. He just pulled a gun and he's like, you really want to test this? And she's like, oh, maybe not. And then he took the restraining bolts off, which I loved. He just dropped them in the lap of that poor shop owner.
Yeah. And then the like, Astromech's being awesome whole play out, which I loved every, and I actually like, I've been it's so funny because I'm like, I love costume changes, and I know it's a hard thing for animation to do, but now they've given us 2 costume changes as the Bad Batch transform into their civilian life, which they even point out, which is something I was like, it'll be really interesting to see their transformation and how that changes with their looks. And we got that. We got one with Hunter, and now he's like pretty much wearing his civvies, and then we get that with Echo, who's turned into Mandroid.
Hunter's kind of dressing more and more like Croc Dundee every episode. I can't wait till he says that's not a knife to somebody.
That's not a knife. This is my vibro knife. And he got to throw it this episode too, which was really good.
Oh, wow, that was such a great knife scene. So
good.
It told its own story right from the 30 seconds of Hunter pulling it out, throwing it, Fennec pulling it out of the shield or whatever she'd used to block it, and then wielding it against him. And then the way she turned it in her hand to be
like, I'm going to stab you
was so good. And then he pushes her wrists away and knocks the knife out. Oh, it's just beautiful.
It was incredibly dramatic and thoughtful as a fight scene. And you definitely felt like, they have different fighting styles, and it's very realistic that he would have been able to physically, push her arms away. But then she has better technique and was able to knock him out.
Yep.
So cool.
That clone off switch.
I mean, she knows where it is. Boba better watch out.
Yeah. The main thing I loved about this episode so much was watching Clone Force 99 starting to try to figure out how to like buy food and sell things. Like he went into a normal store and tried to sell illegal military ordnance and was puzzled as to why nobody was willing to buy it. He's like, it's so valuable. It's a pyro detonator. And they're like, yeah, I'm not of the black market, dude. And Hunter was like, what do you mean?
Yeah. And this felt like, and I know I've compared the Bad Batch to like an RPG before, like a role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game. This felt like a newbie, like, I just got to sell this thing. It's like, you can't sell the Hydra head.
Yeah. No one wants to buy that here.
A regular shop. And it felt so good and real. And I loved it. Yeah.
It was great. I liked Respar 6 at Row Station.
Yeah. He
was great. I will never forget Respar 6 at Row Station. It's just, it rolls off the tongue really well. Because I like how Fennec Shand delivers, like, still pays him.
Yeah.
The pittance that she felt he was due and didn't kill him. But I really appreciated that.
Yeah. It also makes me feel like they're playing it, although when we get to Death Count, we'll talk about that, but they're playing it like she's not as straight up evil, more morally gray bounty hunter type situation. And
I think she didn't kill him because she still has need and use for him. Like, he's potentially valuable. Yeah. How could Respar 6 at Row Station not continue? Like, that's such a cool name. I think they'll bring him back. I'd like to know more about him. The rings on his fingers. He was just so detailed and rich.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciated the sort of through the lens of Omega. I've commented often that, you know, the age group that Star Wars needs to aim at is 8 to 12. But unfortunately, when you look at the fiction that typically 8 to 12-year-olds look at, it focuses on teenagers. They want to look up to people. So this sits better with littler kids, so 6 to 8.
Those kids that want those stuffies.
Those kids that want those stuffies, 8 to 12-year-olds have actually moved on, and they want to look at teenagers and their adventures and their coming of age to understand where they're going. So although, like, Star Wars seems a little confused sometimes with this because, like, it needs to hit psychologically to 8 to 12-year-olds, so it needs to be about transitional times. And I don't know that they're there yet with Omega, and 8 to 12-year-olds might not identify with Omega because she seems so much younger emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, especially if you compare her to, like, Ahsoka or Ezra, who are other characters of that similar age type.
Who were in those transitional periods of time where they were actually going into the adolescent, exploration, adventure, turning into things.
The world is bigger than I knew it was.
Yes, exactly. And they were capable by that age, whereas Omega feels extremely childish.
She needs help.
A lot.
She's not able to resolve her problem herself. In this episode, especially. In other episodes, she solves the problem for others. She's literally
physically picked up by Wrecker and babied. And that reminded me...
And she chases after a stuffy without saying anything about it and just rushes off, which was weird.
Yeah. It didn't seem adolescent to me mentally. It seemed younger. And that's okay. It just means when I look at the episode, I look at the audience that would pick this one up. And it doesn't resonate with adolescence for me, being that we have a 9 and a 13-year-old. We know what kind of fiction they're into, and this could be considered too babyish for them.
Yeah, whereas the 13-year-old loves Kaz from the Resistance because she can look up to Kaz, but also kind of identify with Kaz.
Yeah.
And our son, Kaz was a step too far from him, but Ezra is the perfect age for him right now.
Yeah.
Because even if Ezra had been the same age as Omega, Ezra's life experiences and living on his own made him more mature than his age, than his tender age. And when they aged him up in Rebels, he became, I think, would be the perfect age for Will right now to look up to and identify with.
And especially his struggles with, like, darkness and conflict internally with his own moral code and things like that. So to me, it's really fascinating to just think about who is the audience that they're trying to pick up, and they're trying to pick up 6-year-olds, which is fascinating. In addition, I did appreciate, so we're thinking about 6-year-olds, the conversation about the war is over, why isn't this a good thing?
Yeah.
And they did a really good job of talking about the morally gray aspects of sometimes the victor doesn't mean this is a good thing.
Yep.
Just because a war is over doesn't actually mean it's a good thing. It just means that it's transitioned to a new period of time.
It really made you feel questioning when they talked about your old credits, illegal credits can be converted at the grace of the empire. And then the crowd cheers when that is said. And then it's literally repeated and they cheer again. And I was like, who are these people that have nothing to do but stand here and watch a repeating hologram on
There's a parade. They were there for the parade.
Exactly. But they were cheering to that statement.
Yeah.
And it made it feel grimy.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Like these people don't know. They don't know. And that's hard because these people were so torn during the course of the Clone Wars, while the Separatists and the Republic both vied for their attention.
But I think that it's realistic that people just want things to be stable and secure for a while. And many people will accept a dictatorship rather than having instability and war. Sometimes they will because, stability and peace will allow them to have, some semblance of life. And that doesn't make it right. And that doesn't mean that we should tolerate that. But it is a reality of trying to make your way in a complicated universe. Mm-hmm. Yes. But I did appreciate that they did, it presents things in complicated ways to a younger audience. And that's certainly what it did.
Absolutely.
What did you think of Omega being the person that the shuttle was named and Omega in the Fennec Shan scene where she's like, I'm going after them. And we got to see the picture of her. So it wasn't necessarily the Bad Batch in general. It was Omega.
Right.
What did you think of that?
Well, it made me wonder where Omega is being, who has sent out this bounty to fetch Omega? Is it the Kaminoans that are doing this?
Yeah.
Have they hired Fennec privately to reclaim Omega?
Yeah.
That was what I was led to wonder, who is Fennec working for?
Exactly. Or is it somebody in the Empire, a larger, audience? Because I don't know if you've noticed the Bad Batch poster, Palpatine in, Darth Sidious robes is behind the Bad Batch on the poster.
Interesting. I know that he lurks in the background and his presence is an omnipresence throughout the show. I don't know if it's him that's pushing for that though. And we haven't really been given any indication that that's the case.
We haven't, but I mean, just meta knowledge of marketing materials.
It would be interesting to see where things go from here and who Fennec is working for. Because if it is Palpatine, we're going to get that very clearly. That's not going to be held in the background for too much longer. We're going to get a scene of that, whether it's a minute or a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Of Fennec reporting to the Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't see it though. I think that the Emperor will come through in the Rampart stuff, which may play more because we did not get anything of Crosshair this episode.
No.
Zero Crosshair because we got our two stories with Omega being chased and the chase occurring.
And fixing the ship.
The fixing of the ship.
Yeah. The chase was really beautifully orchestrated. It really felt, although small scale because of the size of the port and the location that they were at, it felt a lot like an Attack of the Clones and the chase scene that happened there. And I loved that.
They made a great use of forward and back, but also up and down.
Yep.
And added depth. And I would watch that scene again. It was so well done. And I really got a feel for the types of vehicles that were involved and the things that happened with those vehicles. I mean, Omega kind of hung off things a bit more than I would have liked to have seen in the episode because she kind of gets left hanging a lot.
Yeah. And she doesn't have a lot of, unlike previous episodes, personal agency around what she is personally able to do. She is a victim and prey primarily in this episode.
But she does arrange her own escape twice.
Oh, certainly.
And definitely gets gets away.
But then I know, but that again leads into me thinking that this is targeting a younger audience rather than a say problem solving mentality level audience.
That's true.
You know, that Omega's story specifically, right? Because it obviously targets dads.
Yeah.
And people who have protective instincts around children. And then it also targets younger audiences. So
I would have liked just a little bit more of Fennec Shand's kindness.
Right. Like those interactions. Let's talk about those interactions. What did you think of Fennec being like, it seems like you're lost?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good. It was a great way to introduce that threat because we already knew Fennec was a threat. We'd already heard Fennec report, so we knew Fennec's motivations were dark. And I'm kind of getting tired of people introducing themselves with helmets and voices, and then their nefarious purposes were revealed. Just give us the face. Have them walk on screen. Be a kind person right from the get-go. We didn't need to see that at the beginning to get, to lead us on.
Right.
We could have just had Fennec walk up, helmet off, tucked under her arm. You look lost. Is there I'm a mom and I wouldn't hate to have my kids lost too. What can I do to help? Do you know where you are?
Moms don't survive in the Star Wars universe though, Kyle.
Sure. She could be lying. It's fine. She doesn't have to genuinely be a mom so that she can live. But what I'm saying is that mix it up every now and again, Star Wars. You don't have to constantly introduce the person in a helmet and make us wonder who they are. You do that often enough.
But I think that would psychologically hit a story that was for an older age group than a younger age group, right? They need to tell us that this person is a bad person even though she's being nice before they show up.
Right.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I really liked the scene where she stole the fruit for Omega.
Yeah,
I like that.
Delightful.
He's like, the universe is hard and sometimes you gotta, make it work for you.
Meanwhile, the Bad Batch is doing that for themselves as well, as they're hoodwinking that poor merchant guy into 3,000 credits.
Yes.
For a droid that isn't a droid.
A non-droid. He's much cooler than a droid. The entire banking clan wanted, or the Techno Union clan wanted him to manage all of their armies.
He's very powerful and important, and he's been kind of relegated, so we'll hopefully see things develop.
This helps.
The scene goes along.
I like that he gets his own costume that makes him look like a droid, and then he has that aspect of blending in and being part of both worlds, which is very cool symbolically and makes me incredibly happy.
Yep.
Yeah. So the chase and the interaction with Fennec sort of gave us a lot about the characters and their skill sets, and that she certainly has techniques about her, maybe not as physically strong as Wrecker and Hunter, but has techniques that she can use. So what do you think about her as a character introduced in this episode?
Fennec,
yeah.
Yeah, no, Fennec's great. I'm excited that we get more Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah.
And we're getting her in that animated scope, so we get a build up for the Book of Boba Fett because she's going to be a central character in that.
It's almost like a prequel to the Book of Boba Fett. It's cool.
I think it's great. I'm excited for that. And I've liked her character in every moment I've seen her on screen. She is engaging, interesting, and unique in the Star Wars physicality in vein.
I want to see more. I want to see cosplayers of her. I think seeing the cosplayers will be exceptional at Celebration or other cons.
She is perfect, awesome, and deadly because I think maybe it's time to do death count.
Oh yeah, let's do death count because is it all on her?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Entirely on her.
And tonight with Kyle Gould, over to Death Count.
Yes, Death Count, sponsored by Flight Risk, a Star Wars podcast. Go listen to it today. Yeah, why not?
Way to plug it. Yeah.
Any guesses?
Oh.
Just off the top of your head, don't think too hard.
10.
No.
Oh, is it less?
It's so small. It's 3.
I saw at least 2 people die, and I was like, maybe I missed a few.
Yeah. I can see that. But if you'd given it, you had to actually spend some time thinking about it, you would have realized it is 3.
Wow.
There are 2 cops that are killed.
Those were like Pantoran
cops.
Yeah.
They were just like normal street bike cops.
Yeah.
Get on there. The little red and blue are circling as they're like chasing.
cab.
They're just doing their job.
Fine.
And she shoots one of them right in the chest.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
It was so graphic. And then he careens, explodes, and the other guy dies as well. They both are dead. The third is when she takes the vehicle. They're driving along. She grabs she cuts the seatbelt,
yeets him out,
grabs the guy and just hurls him out of the I have to count that as a death.
Yeah.
He is definitively dead. There's no living that.
Squishy Star Wars people don't live, yeah.
No, he was a poor, like, she didn't knock him out and throw him in the passenger seat. She killed him.
Yes, to get the car.
And I felt like maybe that was just an animator's easy way through that, because it's so much easier to do that. Like, and then you watch me yeet something to the side than it is to like thunk, push him over and take control of the vehicle. She's so good at knocking people out already. I don't know. Fennec's not a good person in the end.
No, not
even morally gray.
No.
Like there's definitely mostly black there. And she just keeps Respar 6 at Row Station alive in the end because he has potential use for her later.
Yeah. A choice of convenience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely not a 6-year-old's fight scene there.
No.
That was,
But I mean, the violence has always been more extreme in Star Wars.
It's true. It was pretty extreme violence, though. That cop getting shot in the chest, crashing into the other cop. They're just trying to do their jobs. They're literally traffic cops. Their job is to make sure the roads are kept safe and there's not like packages cut from the back of a vehicle that's had their back end load lifted and then they're all falling off. Like,
yeah.
They're just trying to stop, crime, not necessarily crime, but endangerment.
Yeah, and chaos, yeah. What did you think of Echo, staying on characters and like his development, which is entirely expressed by...
You're the droid lover. Why don't you tell us about what you thought of it?
Okay. I absolutely loved it. I've covered it. Throughout this conversation so far, that now he's become this like machine man interface, which he always was, but he's now fully wearing the costume of that. And that's what costume changes do. They show us character changes and acceptances of roles, and him interacting with the droids, convincing the droids through manipulation, threat, and cajoling, ends up being that he has this skill now, right? And it's all played out very wonderfully throughout the episode, and I loved it. And I can't wait to see him more in this costume. I think it's such an interesting costume. And again, I want to see a cosplayer of this costume.
What did you think of the droid that kind of looked like the Clockwork guy from Wizard of Oz 2? It was like Bornky with his kind of stretchy
slinky arms. I've seen that type of droid before. Okay. I don't know what it's called, but yeah. Really cool, different astromech type droid. So
one of them was called 225, but I don't know which one that was.
Yeah, and there was like an R2D2 type.
Yeah,
astromech, and yeah.
Yes,
we got to see Gonki in the background, just helping move stuff around. When in the beginning he was there, he was helping them move stuff. But
I did like C3PO.
Yeah,
because she's the female C3PO or the lady-like C3PO, and so therefore has an at the end of her name. C3PO. 3PO. I really liked the.
Was that the name of the character?
No, I don't think we got a name of the protocol droid, but she was definitely like on the same. Out of the same lineup of C3PO, because she had the exact same attitude, the exact same cadence.
You appreciated her. Yeah.
Of course, I loved her. She was great.
I mean, you're like the biggest C3PO stan in this house, at least.
She's like, I'm in charge of these droids now.
All right, let's go back. Yeah. No, I loved all the droid stuff. It made me incredibly happy. Okay, let's move on to the credits. And I didn't take any notes on this.
I didn't take any notes about the credits this time either. I did note that the same person who had edited the story and kind of seems to be the overseer of the stories themselves that are written by different individuals as they go was the same one. I think his name is
he's been there
Mike Miknowentz or something like that.
He's been there the whole thing, and he wrote the last one.
Every episode. I don't know if he wrote the last one, but he was the story guidance person. And I love that. That's good. Keeps things rolling.
Yep. Yeah, no, and like this points to a story room that they have so many writers, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, even if there's not a room, there's at least guidance and communication happening across the board with that individual who seems to be overseeing the development of the overplot that I'm hoping Jennifer Corbett is the one who implemented and instigated.
Yeah.
And then he is directing her vision, and then she's overseeing more of a production side as executive producer and kind of head of the whole thing underneath Dave Filoni. So I can see the structure of all of this playing out, and it's very effective.
Yeah, I agree. And
it's not hard when you only have one voice actor.
Okay, D, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's your lines. Yeah. It's certainly I hope he's getting paid.
What a dream job too. Like,
yeah.
Here, you do the entire audio story. It's all you. It's a one-man show.
Isn't that what an audiobook is?
Well, sometimes. I mean, there might be full cast audiobooks, right?
That's true.
In that instance, it's not so much. But in this instance, he is all these other characters, and believably so.
So what was this episode all about, Kyle, for you?
Being cornered.
Being cornered. There was no corners.
Don't corner me.
There was a lot of round things like the landing platforms where people landed and a lot of
grate that she goes into and comes out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one is ever cornered in this episode. So it made me, this episode is probably the one I've liked the most. Mm-hmm. I liked the two different storylines. I loved how Tex and Echo's storyline interconnected.
Yeah.
Like Echo bridged the two storylines because he left with Hunter and then he got sold and then he came back to help Tech, and it worked out all around to make it a very cogent, coherent story all the way through. Mm-hmm. And it had a nice direction. It went from point A clearly to point B, and what was great was there was not a lot of back and forth with the different stories, even though there was 18 scenes.
Yeah.
So my favorite of the bunch so far, just because of that.
Favorite of the batch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This has been my favorite episode so far, as well as it definitely felt like there was if we're talking about heroes' journeys or journeys into the subconscious, Omega was being challenged by a dark feminine person, right? Mm-hmm. A representative of her own internal feminine reflected out there as a shadow. And she decided to run away from it, which, I mean, fair, murderous. The goddess is often incredibly scary and destructive. Right? That's a thing. And then, she journeys into her own subconscious momentarily, i.e. going into the underworld. That's always what that means. And emerges still in peril. So I think this is going to be a start of the conversation with Fennec, and there's probably going to be more challenge. It certainly was interesting that she presented herself as a mothering figure to Omega. Like, oh dear, you're lost. I'm here to help you, which also feels very, witch in the woods, Baba Yaga type feel, or like gingerbread house witch, like be wary of this woman of power out there in the world. And I'm super mentally invested in future conversations between the two of them, because now Omega is going to be wary of her, and it'll be really, really fascinating to see where they go with this.
Right. So does Fennec end up more of a Cad Bane or end up more of a Hondo?
I think she's going to be a Hondo in the end. I don't think that they're going to
Well, they can't kill her off.
No. I mean, it feels very low, and it doesn't actually even feel very low stakes. I'm interested to see what she goes through, but it does feel safe to be like, let's speculate on where she goes because we know where she ends up. And that is, I hate to tell you this, Star Wars, this is an excellent storytelling technique. If you end up with a happy ending or something that people are looking forward to, you can do whatever the hell you want with the character in the meantime, and they end up in the happy place in the end. And we're excited to see her in the Book of Boba
happy
Fett.
Place. I mean, Bib Fortuna is dead.
I know you love him, but I'm excited for the relationship and what we'll see between Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. I'm very excited to see older actors, especially up starring in their own show and seeing what that develops, because we don't get a lot of that in mainstream media. And it is fascinating to me to see this relationship build. And I hope they have a relationship that is romantic in some ways, or, maybe even sexual. That would be really cool.
Sex in Star Wars.
There's kissing and hand holding.
Yeah, exactly. They roll around in the fields of Naboo. But I
just want him to rub her feet. Is that too much to ask for?
I don't know. If that's what you're looking for. I don't know.
I that would win me over. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have much commentary or critique about this episode because it was incredibly solid.
Yeah, it was.
Except for I was a little confused about the sewer thing to the tower thing.
Yep.
Again, you pointed that out before, but it was incredibly solid, and I'm looking forward to where they go next. I'm like, where are they going to go next? And that makes me really excited and happy, and meets all of my criteria. So yay.
What's great is that these characters are Bad Batch. They have the skills to pay the bills, but they had no idea that there were bills.
Yeah, they're like, wait, there's bills now?
Wait, you said rations and I'm hungry. Well, now you won't be eating rations ever again, really, because you're not in the military, and it's not going to be, ascribed to you by a quartermaster anymore. Yeah. You're literally going to go out and go grocery shopping for the first time.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of those guys that I taught how to do laundry in university. Like, now you put in the soap, don't put in too much. And there's always like that one guy in your dorm or whatever that put in like the entire box of soap. And then suddenly, this happened to me, suddenly your entire like shared laundry area is filled with bubbles.
So dumb. Just like our Bad Batch.
Parents, teach your kids how to do laundry before they leave the house.
Getting a degree in engineering, but still can't do laundry.
Yeah. Because their mom did their laundry their whole life. Okay.
Terrible.
Yes. Okay.
Or in our kids' case, their dad has done their laundry.
Their dad has done their laundry their whole life. Yes, I don't do the laundry in this household.
But they're 9 and 13, so I'm not trusting them with my $2,500 worth of laundry appliances anytime soon.
Right.
And that's final. Maybe when they're 14, 15, she can start to figure it out.
All right. All right. So now to Bad Batch, Sad Batch.
Right. And what were you this week?
Oh, I wrote it down. Bad catch. Because Fennec failed to catch Omega.
Said. The game where she didn't catch the ball.
I know. But I'm repeating it because we can repeat things.
Nice. That's fair. Absolutely.
You could even say Sad Batch.
I went with Glad Batch.
Oh, good. Yes.
Because I really enjoyed this episode. It made me glad to watch it. So it was a Glad Batch for me.
I love that. Had I thought of that would have been my runner-up. So
yep. It was all wrapped up neatly with a red ribbon, just like a Glad garbage bag.
Yes. And now they have credits.
Yep. And 3,000
credits, which is not much.
No, such a small amount of credits.
Han Solo was looking for a lot more than that to transport a weird shifty guy, a weird kid, and a couple of droids to Alderaan from Tatooine.
He knew they were in a dire strait, and he could hold them over the coals because he knew he was being held over the coals. So I think price point.
I know that was. Yeah.
Really got out of whack.
We can buy our own ship for that. Who's going to fly it? Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
But 3,000 credits is enough to buy some food, some groceries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not in today's economy, but at least it got them set up to get to their next adventure.
Yeah, they fueled up probably in that docking bay. up. I don't think they paid that guy.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they paid their docking. I mean, they paid their bribe, which he totally took anyway. What a terrible person. Like, he took their bribe and then ratted them out anyway. To Fennec, though, not to the people who actually had posted the wanted poster.
Or who wanted their code for landing, right?
Exactly.
But now they're set up to land anywhere, and they can like give their code and
their scrambled code, and it's a new code every port.
Yeah.
I'm interested, and I don't know where they're going to go next, but maybe out of floor. Or out a window.
Out a window.
Or out a rooftop.
Or I don't know.
Or out a wall.
I did appreciate the end scene, and this is where I'll leave it off as far as our conversation, where Fennec was looking out into the unknown, as far as like, where can you go? And that's in Star Wars, space is the unknown, it is the adventure, and then you end up back in the known, the worlds, etc. And it certainly gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, this has been the Bad Batch Report. Kyle, where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
You can find me here next week. Same batch time, same bad channel.
Wait a second. Also social media.
Yes, you can find me there in the show notes or with your own super sleuthing skills. Haha.
Challenge accepted. We will definitely be back next week with another episode of the Bad Batch Report.
See you then.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Brad, Cheryl Bell, Melody, Night Huntress in Wild Space, Felicia, How Rude, Anna Perez, Macau Mom, Neil, James, Joe Allen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, Susan, and Adam Dyson. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube or other podcast feeds, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, or on our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.